Hey guys, welcome to another live edition of the Cover 2 podcast. I'm Jared Smith.
I'm Nenad.
And we're here today to break down a couple things in the sports world, mainly in the NFL, and then we're going to jump to the NBA to finish off the show. But we want to get started today with probably the hottest topic going around in the NFL. That would be not only the Oakland Raiders, but Antonio Brown and all the drama that he has brought to this new team. And he hasn't even played a real down of NFL football.
No, he hasn't even really practiced either.
Right.
You know?
He hasn't practiced, and yet he has left training camp. He has burned feet, and apparently he will not play football again unless he gets to wear the helmet that he wants.
Yes, well, he's detracted that statement a bit since obviously all of this news has happened. I do believe he will play. I think he was just trying to get the most out of the situation. If maybe he threatened the NFL, we've seen the NFL do crazier things in the past, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to change his helmet.
Listen, he better play. You're not turning down, $30 million or whatever it is because you can't wear your exact helmet. I'm sorry. I don't care how much money you've made in the past. I know he's already set up for life, but you ain't turning that money down.
No, of course not. No, and plus he's still technically, I wouldn't say, well, actually he still could be in his prime of his career.
Oh no, he's still
a
top best receiver.
Monster. I mean, 15 touchdowns last year.
It's just, here's the thing, right? This is a new team that he's with. He needs to get on the right page with a quarterback, learn the offensive system.
That's true, it is
right?
different,
And so when you're missing practice, it's one thing if you're doing that because you're injured, and obviously he's dealing with an injury right now. But the fact that he left training camp and he wasn't even able to be participating in the meetings and gelling from a mental aspect, I think that, at least for myself, if I was in the Raiders organization, that's what I would be most worried about is, hey, at least you can be there taking mental reps, kind of building a connection with your team instead of distancing yourself and just leaving training camp altogether.
Well, I think he's doing it for the benefit of himself because I think he really wants to be out there and playing, but we've seen what his feet look like. If you watched Hard Knocks last night, you saw how bad his feet look. It looks like a burn victim.
Don't worry, we're not going to show that to you guys.
No.
You can go check that out on your own time.
Exactly. You can pay for HBO and see that kind of stuff. People like that kind of stuff, right, Jared?
But if that's what you're into.
But nonetheless, yeah. So his feet are in bad shape, and I think what he wants to do is play football right now, and I think he's unable to do that because of his injury. He needs to take the proper time to get back and get ready so it doesn't get worse, because this is not some normal injury. This is not a twisted ankle. This isn't a hurt knee. These are burned feet. Like this is a weird injury. So he needs to take special care of it. And I think he wanted to leave Napa because he would have gone too hard. We saw on Hard Knocks a couple times where his trainer had to tell him to calm down and stuff like that. And that's one of the cool things about Hard Knocks is we do actually get to see a follow-up to these reports that we see in the sports media. And we actually get to see what the hell is going on. And at least for me, to go over the whole grand scheme, in Raiders camp, or at least the way HBO showed it, it didn't seem like it was that big of a deal. And it was a lesser deal than the media made it out to be.
Right. It seems like John Gruden, GM Mike Mayock, and the rest of the Raiders staff, they were not as worried about this in communication with Antonio Brown and basically saying, listen, we know he's coming back. The media, surprise, surprise, likes to put a spin on things and kind of make a huge story. And the video clip that I was seeing the most that was related to this story was earlier in the offseason when Antonio Brown was being interviewed by an ESPN reporter. And Antonio Brown flat out said, I don't need to play football. I want to play football and I love football, but I could very easily walk away from the game. Now, that wasn't verbatim, so don't quote me on exactly what he said. But basically, he was saying, I can walk away from the game of football right now and be totally fine. And I think when this whole instance happened where he walks away from training camp, obviously he has the foot injury and then he's upset because the NFL made his helmet that he's worn for the past 10 years illegal to where he can't wear it anymore. I think he was basically trying to threaten the NFL and saying, hey, listen, I'm one of your hottest commodities and people watch football because of me.
Yeah.
So if I walk away from the game, it is only hurting you guys. Obviously, in the end, the NFL is a lot bigger than Antonio Brown.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And so he made the wise decision to say, all right, I will come back. He even put out on Twitter asking fans or anyone for that matter if they knew of where to get the specific type of helmet that he wanted. He said that he would then trade a practice-worn Raiders helmet signed in exchange for the helmet.
So when are we going looking for that helmet?
Oh, I've already been look.
It'd be great to put in the background.
I know, right? I've been on eBay. I've been looking around trying to find the helmet. Unfortunately, it seems like Antonio Brown has already found that helmet, and he's working right now with the NFL to try to get that helmet. Make sure that it's up to the right standards of what the NFL wants.
His helmet, because I did see it on Hard Knocks last night, it does look a lot different from the one that he wore, and I do think that that would be a weird thing. You hear about baseball players being really attached to their gloves, right? All of a sudden you say, oh, well, that glove, you can't wear that, that's illegal, too much webbing or whatever the excuse you'd make. The players would be mad, and not that you'd quit, but a guy that's been playing shortstop for 10 years and wearing the same glove over and over and over again, you'd be angry, right? So it's kind of understandable. And apparently Antonio Brown had been dealing with this issue since May. Like this wasn't the thing that happened in the last couple weeks. He knew there was going to be some screwery with his helmet. So I think this last week or whatever we heard this rumor was the end all be all of him just being frustrated because of the injury and all this stuff, and then being like, well, I'm not going to play.
Right. Well,
I
think to the point of the media and everyone that was against Antonio Brown on this, they were saying, listen, you've known about this since last offseason, right? I mean, listen, players such as Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't matter whether you're a superstar or whether you're a scrub in the league. Everyone has had to change and go to these new, better, more safe helmets that the NFL's quote-unquote saying. So for Antonio Brown, the fact that you've known about this basically all the offseason, it's not like this just came up last week and the NFL just came up on you, without a notification and say, hey, you need to change. He's known about this, so why is this now taking place right now while training camp is going on? This should have been handled way before OTAs had even started. That way, Antonio Brown could be in training camp and actually be with his teammates. And I think that's the biggest argument is that, listen, this was the wrong time for you to be doing this, and you were not proactive in this situation.
Well, Antonio Brown's a bit of a diva, right? He's got
just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. We see this a lot with the wide receivers. We see this a lot with a lot of NFL players. And then hell, you put them on live on HBO, or not live, but you put them on HBO every single week. You might ramp up the stuff. Like I said this 2 weeks ago. I said Antonio Brown knows how ratings work. He's been on TV shows. He's been on Ballers and stuff like that. So. He's not just some quiet Kawhi Leonard-like player. He's out there. He's going to make his voice known. Right. He's not bigger than the NFL, and really nobody is, and we've seen that in the past. But we see the Odells of the world do this stuff too, so it's not totally out of character. I do expect, though, this to be the last of us talking about the diva moments from Antonio Brown.
I hope so.
I do think the next time we mention him on this podcast, more than likely it will be when he's coming back to play.
I hope so. And to kind of wrap this whole segment up, obviously we mentioned Antonio Brown is still dealing with that foot injury, that foot burn on both of his feet. Do you see Antonio Brown, if he is healthy, playing at all in the regular season, or does the coaching staff just say, hey, listen, we know who you are, get your mind right with the playbook? Yeah. Do we see Antonio Brown in the preseason, or do the Raiders wait until the regular season?
You know what? I could see him playing in the third preseason game.
The kind of tune-up game?
Exactly. If not that, then absolutely not. If it's not going to be the third game, it's definitely not going to be the fourth game, because you're not even going to have Derek Carr playing that game.
Right.
So you need Derek Carr to make it more realistic. So I do think, if I'm going 50-50, I would bet on him not playing until the regular season.
See, I actually would like to see him, and I'm speaking as if I was a Raiders fan or if I was a part of the Raiders organization. I would want to see him in action in the preseason. Listen, in Pittsburgh, right, he wasn't really playing in the preseason, but he was familiar with the offensive scheme. He had a lot of tenure with that team. This is a whole new organization, new coaching staff, new scheme, new quarterback, new everything. And listen, practices are great, but games are a whole different thing where you're going up against an opponent.
True.
I think he needs to get out there it doesn't matter if it's 10 reps, 15 reps, put him out there for a whole quarter and see how him and Derek Carr gel in a real life situation. I think that would be very important for them going into week one. Listen, they're going up against Denver on Monday night in week one. Granted, it is at home in Oakland, but Denver's defense is very, very good, right? And so if you don't have any type of familiarity between Derek Carr and Antonio Brown going into that Week 1 matchup, that's not a recipe for success.
No, yeah, you were right. They played the Broncos, and then they played the Chiefs, and they played the Vikings, so they do have a couple of difficult opponents to start this season. But AB is AB, and he's been one of the best receivers in the NFL. He'll be fine. I think as long as his feet are okay, he'll be fine. Great players tend to be able to not have the playbook and all that stuff.
Just turn that switch on and just go
exactly,
play.
Yeah. So AB, I think, will be fine. But Raiders fans, be cautious. You don't need the guy to play in the preseason. There is literally no value in it. He can play in practice every single day. He can learn Derek Carr's system. He probably already has been working with Derek Carr behind the scenes during the offseason and stuff like that. And we have heard that. We've heard that they actually have been doing that on Hard Knocks as well. So I think they'll be fine. Doesn't mean they're going to make the playoffs this year, but nonetheless, we'll switch topics. We'll switch topics to something that we've talked about almost every single week here since we've come back from our little break, and something that's near and dear to Jared's heart. And there seems to be new news every single week, so we have to talk about it. And the Cowboys are a popular team, so we're going to dive into some Cowboys news here. Dak Prescott made headlines this week asking for $40 million, and a lot of people have given their opinion on this, but I almost feel like our opinion, not that it matters more, but because we cover this team and because we talk about this team so much and because you are a fan, I've been very excited to talk about this. I almost called an impromptu podcast the other day because I was so built up. I didn't realize you were dealing with some phone issues a couple days ago. So, Dak Prescott, I'll give my thoughts on this first, just because I want to give you the floor after. He's not a $40 million quarterback, okay? I really don't think anybody is, maybe besides Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers type right now. Throw Russell Wilson in there, but he didn't get 40, so I'm not going to put him in there. Prescott, he's a franchise quarterback, okay? I'll give him that. But he has not done enough in his career to warrant being the highest paid quarterback in the NFL besides being on the Dallas Cowboys. I think if he's on the Washington Redskins, nobody's thinking that he gets $40 million. I think if he plays for the Buffalo Bills, nobody believes he should get $40 million. I think it's almost somewhat believable because he plays for the Cowboys. They're a big organization and people care about them. So, I just think I get it. Players need to get their money, and I have no problem with that at all, especially in football with the dangers that come with this sport. But let's temper it down a little bit, and it is a little disappointing to me that being the franchise quarterback and knowing with all the other contracts out there that they need to pay in the next year or two, why he would ask for so much money, knowing that would probably lose one or two of those players.
So you think Dak should have, taken the $30 million and said, "Thank you very much."
Absolutely, yeah, and maybe even less because you see Tom Brady taking less a lot, and I know Tom Brady's been paid over his career. He has a lot of endorsements, and his wife makes a lot of money too. But I just think for me, this was the first time he didn't look like a team player in this situation. It disappointed me a little bit because knowing that Ezekiel Elliott wants his money, and he's not going to play if he doesn't make his money. Knowing that Amari Cooper wants his money, knowing that the Cowboys are going to have to play Jaylen Smith and Byron Jones, or at least one of those two, him asking for $10 extra million, knowing the cap space is going to be a little difficult, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to talk to Jared about this. This is insane. And I didn't like it, so I'll give you the floor now because I was disappointed. I did not like it. I don't think he's a $40 million quarterback. What do you think about your franchise quarterback?
Let me just clarify all this because I understand where Nick Nenad is coming from. He's not a resident Cowboys fan.
No.
And so it basically, if you're not a Cowboys fan, if you don't follow this team, if you're maybe not a Dak fan in general, which I'm not saying you're not, I can totally understand what your argument is. Now, I will tell you what I think the real situation is. And it's very, very simple, right? And I said this on last week's podcast. If you're Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, or Amari Cooper, it is not your fault that the Cowboys have so many players that they need to sign, right? It's not your fault that you were drafted when you were. Obviously the Cowboys have had very good drafts the last couple years. And this is a product of that. When you have a lot of good drafts and you get Dak Prescott at a discount, 4th round draft pick making $600,000, listen, he is going to want to get paid. Obviously, he has Dak Prescott, since he's been in the league, has 32 wins under his belt. He is only second behind Tom Brady for playing 3 years and having that many wins, right?
It's
so
a factor.
I think that is a huge argument that him and his camp is coming to the Joneses, the owners of the Cowboys, and saying, listen, yes, we've had Ezekiel Elliott, we've had a good defense, we've had things around Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott has also shown that he can carry this team, he can be a leader. He doesn't have any of the off-field issues that, an Ezekiel Elliott or any of these other players have, right? He's a stand-up guy, and he has never missed a start in his entire career. So those are some pretty good numbers and some pretty good reasons why Dak Prescott feels that he should be a top-tier quarterback. And here's my thing. Unfortunately, the NFL stands for not for long, right? And players' contracts are not 100% guaranteed. Yes, you have Kirk Cousins, he's very much in the minority because he is the only player in the NFL that has a fully guaranteed contract. So Dak Prescott's contract will not be fully guaranteed. And the fact, like I mentioned, that he was making so little compared to these other quarterbacks in the league, he's saying, I'm getting my money, I'm getting paid, I'm not taking a discount.
Yeah.
And I respect that. If I was in Dak Prescott's shoes, I would not be taking a discount. You brought up Tom Brady. Here's the thing. Tom Brady is potentially taking a discount for multiple reasons. Number one, he has already made a gajillion dollars in his career. Number two, his wife makes more money on a per annual basis than he does.
This is crazy.
So they're set. They are very much fine. He's a 6-time Super Bowl champion. And the reason why Tom Brady has continued to, what do you want to call it, taking pay cuts or reductions is because at the end of this season, he can become an unrestricted free agent. So he's kind of working the system saying, okay, I'm going to potentially play the field and see where I am. Dak Prescott is still an up-and-coming quarterback, right? And he's saying, I have not made the type of money that I feel I should. I'm going to reach for the sky and more. So unfortunately for the Cowboys, yes, they have a lot. They have many players, a lot of players that they need to re-sign in 1 year. This is very unusual. Usually teams might have one, potentially two, quote-unquote superstars on your team. The Cowboys have 3 in Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Amari Cooper. So for all 3 of these guys, unfortunately, it kills me to say this because I want them all to be for the Cowboys for the foreseeable future. But I don't want any of these guys taking a hometown discount because the contracts are not guaranteed. And number 2, I think these guys have all been, underpaid. Amari Cooper making $14 million a year is the one player who has been, I would say, sufficiently, reimbursed for his services. Yeah. Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott have outdone their contracts, and therefore they deserve to be paid, I think, what they think they're worth.
So the one thing about this is too, and I think when you look at Amari Cooper as well, I think the 5 players I mentioned, including Byron Jones and Jaylen Smith, I actually do think Amari Cooper is the and no malcontent, but he's the worst player out of those 5. So him already having his contract and losing Amari Cooper potentially, I don't think is the worst thing ever.
Very quickly, that's not going to happen because the Cowboys wouldn't have traded a first-round pick last year for Amari Cooper. But you have to keep some guys. No, they're going to find a way to get all 3 of them done. And I didn't mean to interrupt. The Cowboys, it would have been a wasted first-round pick if you would have only had Amari Cooper for half of the season, right? And then you can't come to terms on a long-term contract, and he's gone within a year. You don't trade that high value of a pick if you know that, if you're not going to re-sign that player. So that will get done, and I think that's why Amari Cooper's kind of on the back burner right now because obviously Ezekiel Elliott is holding out and he's basically, saying, hey, either pay me or I'm not playing. Yeah. And we all know that Dak Prescott as the quarterback is going to get paid. So unfortunately, the way the chips are falling, Amari Cooper is low on the totem pole. But I guarantee you, a guarantee on the Cover 2 podcast, Amari Cooper will be in a Dallas Cowboys uniform for the foreseeable future. So
getting back to Dak, and I think you said something that I'm gonna disagree with a little bit. So obviously Dak, has outplayed his contract. $600,000 is not worth. Dak Prescott is absolutely 100%. Nobody will disagree. Outplayed that contract. I do not think he's taking a pay cut though, making $30 million. I just don't. I think a lot of people see him as in the 20s. So him taking 30 already was like, okay, I get it. He's the Cowboys quarterback. You need to pay your quarterbacks the most. They're the most important players. Absolutely, I agree. So for him to ask 40, think about it in my terms, I'm like, well, why don't you just go in there and threaten the whole team with a gun? Why don't you next? Like, what's going on? Like, why you know? So that's where I'm coming from. I don't even think he's taking a pay cut, taking 30, 32 million. So for him to ask for 40 and be like, I don't want to take, I get it. And I get it. The 40 million probably would make up for the 7 million that he would have lost being a first round pick, all that stuff. Kyler Murray made about $7 million this year being number one pick. So if you look at it and you backtrack, Dak would have made around that extra $6-7 million. I think that's what he's asking for. And maybe it's just a statement to get more money or to be like, hey guys, I want my money, right? So I'm going to ask for a ridiculous amount. Bryce Harper, remember talking about him possibly asking for 50 or some BS like that. You know what I'm saying? So I do think these players, they're going to ask for the money because hell, Jared Jones said, okay. Right? You're going to be like, oh, okay, wow, they actually did that. I don't think he was 110% serious about the $40 million. I think it is a way of ramping up his money. I just have to disagree with it because I didn't even think he was 100% worthy of $30 million. So for him,
I think you're completely right. This is all a negotiating tactic.
Of course.
No, he's never going to get $40 million, but this is potentially a way for him to get an extra $2 or $3 million. Right? Yeah. The Cowboys offer 30. He says no, and he says he wants 40. Maybe the Cowboys counter and say, okay, we'll give you 32 or 33. Yeah. That's an extra $3 million.
Well, I think he will get over 30 now.
That's an extra, $3 or $4 million by simply saying, I want 40. So I think that is nothing but a negotiating tactic. And if I'm Dak Prescott, and if you can squeeze that extra $3 or $4 million, who wouldn't do that? So from that standpoint, I'm okay with him saying 40 because no one is going to give him 40. It's just the fact that people think, oh my gosh, $40 million, they're not understanding that it's just a negotiating tactic. Number two, with the CBA potentially changing in 2 years, there's just going to be more and more money to be going around in the NFL. I know you brought up the NFL is potentially looking into a new gambling contract that would bring in excess of over $2 billion in revenue,
math on it, yeah.
Which all that's going to do is bring the salary cap up, raise the salary cap, and put more money in players' pockets. So potentially in a year and a half and 2 years, every player, doesn't matter what your position is, will be getting a pay raise. So therefore, there's going to be more wiggle room for a potential $33 or $34 million Dak Prescott contract.
No, yeah, that is true. And I think them looking in the future and saying, okay, well, in a couple of years, you will be able to pay this, and it will essentially be like you're paying me $30 million just based on how the contracts work. But none of that is intact right now, which is why it's still risky. And with all of these guys being free agents right now for the Cowboys, and like you said, it's a rare situation, that's where it's like I thought it was kind of the worst time to do this. With your running back that kind of is the reason that you are going to win a Super Bowl, is saying, oh, I'm not playing until I get paid. Then your QB comes out, who has proven in the past without Ezekiel that so far he has not been able to be an extremely successful quarterback. He then asks for even more money. It's like, what's going on? Where's the team in this?
The Cowboys are going to have to work at this.
Yeah.
But they can get all three of these contracts done, and I know we've said that before, but you can front load a certain contract. You can give a player a little more money in his first and second year. You can backload a contract to whereas, let's say you want to give Dak Prescott, because he's been so underpaid, give Dak Prescott more money up front. Tell Amari Cooper, say, hey, listen, because you're already making $14 million this year, we're going to backload your contract to where the first couple of years you won't be making as much, and then the third, fourth, and fifth year your contract continues to grow. So there's ways of finagling these contracts to make it fit under the salary cap system to where these can get done. I think all the Cowboys are saying is, hey, we need a little bit of help from these agents and these players on negotiating. And as of right now, these players are standing firm, and we are not taking any discounts. And that's exactly where we are right now.
Yeah, no, and speaking on, you mentioned the gambling deal, and I don't know all of the specifics for it. I just know that it would make the NFL around $2.3 billion in extra revenue. Comparing that to what the NBA did with this gambling company, I think they were in the 200 million range. So
Wow.
you're seeing a huge increase in revenue, and I just did the math. It would add $70 million to each team. So you're looking at the salary cap, which already will be around $200 million in about 2 years. As far as the hard cap, you add 70 to that. It's $270 million. $40 million all of a sudden doesn't look like that big of a deal for a quarterback.
There
and that's
you go.
probably what every player will be being paid.
Of
And
course.
the way the NBA works too, with how their contracts work, and guys are getting paid $45 million, and Giannis is supposed to make $50 million in a couple of years. I think NFL quarterbacks should be making that same kind of money. Just not right now, because the CBA doesn't make sense and the salary cap is not there. So
Well, speaking of the NBA, let's jump ship and transition a little bit into the NBA schedule for the new 2019-2020 season that just was released a few days ago. And I'm very excited about this because we've got some great matchups right out of the gate. We have the number 1 pick, Zion Williams, and the New Orleans Pelicans going to the defending champion Toronto Raptors without Kawhi Leonard. The fact that, everyone wants to see Zion play in LA and New York, in Chicago, and all these different cities, they've put up poster signs with Zion Williams on it saying, this is the date that Zion Williams will be coming to our town. That is how big of a factor this dude is, and he hasn't even played 1 minute in the NBA.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic, but I think we want to kind of stick a little more with our hometown teams, the LA Lakers
well,
and
we
the
know
LA
that's
Clippers.
who you guys care about anyway.
Exactly,
So.
and they're squaring off Game 1 opening night. It will be a Clippers home game, but we will right off the bat get to see the potential new rivalry of the Lakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and the Clippers with their 2 new free agents in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Nick, I want to get your initial thoughts on the schedule and how excited you are about these early matchups.
Well, I mean, I think when the offseason ended, I think we all said, when are the Lakers and Clippers playing? Right? Like, that's probably what 95% of fans said. Right? And so they play on opening night, which is the NBA. If there's one great thing about the NBA, is they really know how to present the big time matchups. They put them on Christmas Day.
Right.
They put them on other holidays.
So Lakers and Clippers play again on Christmas Day. It'll be a Lakers home.
Exactly, and that's the way it should be, because that's when the most people are going to be watching. When you hear, oh, it's the first day of the NBA season, I might watch. Everybody will watch their team, because whether you're the Phoenix Suns, whether you're the New Orleans Pelicans, or whether you're the Los Angeles Lakers, you have a chance at a championship on day one.
There's hope.
Yeah, there's hope. Exactly. So, then once you start 1-9, then it's like, okay, maybe we can get a couple wins here. Let's get the AFC and all that stuff.
And then the tank can come in.
Exactly. Then people don't care. But I think when you look at this, to see that the Lakers and Clippers play on opening night is a fantastic thing, and we will wait the least amount of time to see that match.
Right.
So I'm super excited about that. Hopefully everybody's healthy. I don't know if Paul George will be fully healthy for that game, so you might not see the full Clippers-Lakers game. I think you might have to wait until Christmas for that. But nonetheless, Battle of LA. We've been talking trash to each other. I have a whole group chat, that talks trash between the Lakers and Clippers. So here in LA, and I think around the world too, a lot of people are looking forward to that matchup. The Clippers also play Golden State Warriors in their second game. So not the best thing. And if you're a Laker fan, I mean, their schedule's not that difficult the first 10 games. Besides the Clippers, it's nobody crazy. They don't play the Warriors. They don't play the Rockets. They don't play the Jazz. There's a lot of winnable games to start early
on to get some early momentum.
Exactly. And so when you get in those later matchups, and if the Lakers aren't gelling 100% correctly, getting 8, 7, maybe 9 wins out of those first 10 games does help you in seeding, because seeding will matter in the West. Like, you do not want to be, not only do you want home field advantage, but you do not want to be playing the Warriors or the Clippers or the Rockets in the first round. You want to play them in the second, potentially even third round as well. So I'm super excited. I'm obviously way more excited for the Clippers-Lakers games and all that stuff. I'm interested to see how Zion plays, but yeah, I mean, looking at the Clippers and Lakers rosters, that's pretty much the 2 teams I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, no, here's what I'm hoping, and I hope that Paul George is ready to go for that game 1, because I would really like to see that matchup right out of the gate. Here's what I do know. Anthony Davis and LeBron James are going to be ready to go.
They're
LeBron James, I think,
Sure.
is going to be more motivated than ever. It's the first time in years that he not only didn't make the finals, but didn't even make the playoffs altogether, right? So he got that extra month and a half of rest, which he has not gotten in basically 5 years because he's been in the NBA Finals for so many consecutive seasons. So I think he'll be able to, come back stronger than ever. He'll be healthy, he'll be in shape, and he's going to be more motivated because he's got another superstar, legit superstar on your team to go along with Kyle Kuzma, a whole new coaching staff. It's basically kind of like a breath of fresh air after a very disappointing last season. So very excited to see what this Lakers team does. And like I said, right off the bat, you're getting Kawhi Leonard and potentially Paul George and a very, very well-established Clippers team who took the Golden State Warriors 6 games last year, without any of these superstars. So I think it's going to be a great matchup week 1. I love how the NBA puts these games together, and very excited.
And I thought this might happen too. Not only will LeBron James be motivated because he has these great teammates, he has a brand new team. They're playing the Clippers on opening night. They're playing on Taco Tuesday.
Oh boy!
It's a Taco Tuesday,
it's a Taco Tuesday
to start the season as well. So not only will LeBron be adequately fed before the game,
right.
he'll be ready, he'll be excited. He'll have those tacos in him, and he'll try to get the fans to do tacos.
Hey, yeah,
well,
it's not a Lakers home game, but
that's the one thing.
During Lakers home games, if they keep their opponent under 100 points, I believe it's Jack in the Box gives away
Jack in the Box tacos are good.
I believe, free tacos to everyone in attendance.
You can even hear that chant on like 2K.
Oh, you can. Yeah, we want tacos.
Yeah,
exactly. We want tacos.
And LeBron gets
so
tacos.
we'll have to wait for Christmas. If Christmas is on a Tuesday this year, potentially we can be doing that. If not, we'll just have to go to another regular season game on a Tuesday.
It's
very interesting. So
absolutely.
We just wanted to mention that the NBA is kind of very, very quiet right now. The NFL is ramping up. Obviously, Major League Baseball, we're getting closer and closer to the postseason. So we wanted to give a little bit of NBA news, a little excitement there. We obviously dove into Antonio Brown and all of his saga. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, we're still not sure when that happens. I'm really hoping that all of this is resolved before the NFL season and week 1 gets started, because once the season starts, I want these players to be focused and ready on the season and not having to worry about their money.
Absolutely. And so we do have a little bit of extra time here, so I want you to give us one thing to look forward to for week 2 of the preseason, one thing that you want to see. Obviously, a lot of the starting quarterbacks and starting superstars will be playing this week for the first time. What are you most excited about seeing in week 2 now that week 1 has passed?
Yeah, no, week 2 is really the time when you're going to see those starters. Now, they're not going to play for long. Some will only play a couple series. Some teams will actually let their starters play a full quarter just to get their legs underneath them a little bit. But I'm very excited to see the dynamic between Aaron Rodgers and new first-time head coach Matt LaFleur and how they gel. We all know the strong personality that Aaron Rodgers is and how much he loves to put his stamp on this offense. Obviously, Matt LaFleur coming from Tennessee and a quote-unquote offensive guru. I'm really looking forward to see, how these two teams gel. Now, obviously, we're not going to see the full complement of their plays, but just to see, what formations they're in and if they can be successful early on. So that is the main headline that I'm looking forward to in preseason week 2.
Yeah, and with the NFL preseason too, you never really know. So I actually mentioned something last week that I was excited to see, and it didn't happen. And that was Odell and Jarvis Landry on the field together. So if they play this week, I'm excited to see them for the first time. So I'm just going to revert back to what I said last week.
All right, we'll give you a pass.
I'm still excited to see Odell and Landry finally on the field if they do end up playing. One thing I will mention, and this is biased completely, but it does make sense. Kyler Murray looked very good at quarterback for the Cardinals. I know it's vanilla play calling, but his arm action and his running ability and just the liveliness of his ball was very impressive. But he only got to play one drive. And because of a couple penalties, he wasn't able to get in the end zone at any point. So I am excited to see more of Kyler Murray, and I think a lot of other people are too, for this week as well, because I know he will play. So besides the Landry-Odell thing, I am excited. I'm obviously excited to watch the Kyler Murray.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the Raiders.
They play the Raiders.
And that's Thursday night, and I think it's on national television as well. So
it is, yeah.
There you go.
I already have people I'm watching it with.
Oh, well, there you go. Apparently, Nick is well prepared.
And the Cardinals will be on Hard Knocks next week, which is going to be cool too.
There you go.
It's even more exciting. So we hope the Cardinals beat them down. We can see Gruden get a little
love to see
test
the red face Gruden. Chucky coming into play.
No, exactly. So I'm excited about that. And then again, obviously Odell and Landry. Can you play this week? Because you disappointed.
They're going to play this week.
Yeah.
They'll play a couple series, if not the whole first quarter.
Exactly. And all I need to see is one series too. I understand. I mean, when I was watching the Cardinals game last week, Murray went out, and I was like, okay.
But listen,
much else to watch.
Murray, and it's very rare, and I believe we've mentioned this both before on previous podcasts. This is a unique situation where obviously most times when a rookie, it doesn't matter what position you're in, when you're coming into the NFL, it is a huge learning curve because you're not only learning a new offensive system, it's a whole different ballgame, right? This is the professional leagues.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray knows this offensive system better than any other offensive player on the team. So you have Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson and all these other veteran players actually coming up to him, asking him for his advice and his input on this offense. So I think that was a reason why Kyler Murray only played a series was because Cliff Kingsbury didn't necessarily need to see a whole lot from him.
No.
He needed to see a lot from the rest of the team, the offensive line, running backs, receivers, and to see how well they can pick up this offense.
Yeah, I've learned that preseason doesn't really mean much besides injuries that happen and take players off the field. So, seeing Murray, it was nice. But once he left, I was like, okay, I'll just see you next week. Like it's like a TV show. It's a teaser for the next week, and eventually will lead up to September 6th when they finally start the season and really get it. September 6th, September 7th. I don't remember the exact date, but so I'm excited to see Kyler Murray, of course, because I'm a Cardinals fan.
Well, there you go.
Exactly. So
that is it for today's show. We hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Continue to send us your feedback, send us your comments. If you have anything that you would like us to talk about, your favorite teams, let us know, and we will be happy to share that information. But for today, I'm Jared Smith.
I'm Nick Dina.
And this has been the Cover 2 Podcast. We'll see you next week.